Heartbeats have been around forever in the trap scene. Almost every artist needs them, whether it's for a diss track or that's their main style. But how do we make those aggressive beats that are easy to rap on? Well, today I'm going to show you the best techniques to make those beats, taking inspiration especially from Drake's hardest songs. And we will make two beats, one more classic and simple and one more experimental and unique. So let's get into it. So to create these classic hard trap beats, they like to use repetitive melodies with simple instruments like the piano.
PC, you know who really bang except my nigga YG. Backstage in my city, it was friend zone. You won't ever take no.
These are really helping to keep the beat simple and having the space for an artist to flow on it. For our beat, let's find a piano sound. And there is no need to find a super realistic one, because as you heard, this piano sounded pretty cheap. So let's start with this one from the stock FL Studio packs. And we're going to change how it sounds later. Let's go at 160 BPM since these beats are pretty fast, and let's select the minor scale in E. Remember to use these two notes that are close together and they're going to create tension, and already with something like this it will work. But there is an easy way to create a fire bouncy melody. Now we are looping 4 notes, but let's try to loop 3, copy it, and remove the notes that are in excess. So this C is out of the bar, so let's remove it, and we can just loop this bar like that. Let's try another order. And copy this again. Yeah, we can just copy this. Another thing to pay attention is the length of the notes. Let's try to make them longer. Yeah, like that. If we had these notes shorter, it would sound different. Instead now, they blend better together. Now, in the main melodies, they don't add a lot of variation, but at the end we can try to do something. Let's try to pitch this E up. Yeah, at least something changes at the end. Now, going back to the actual sound, the piano in Family Matters has something like an high pass filter.
PC, you know who really bang except my nigga YG.
To recreate that effect, we can use a filter or add an EQ like that. And move these lower frequencies. Now let's not do too much because we are removing the body of the sound. And I think they did that because right now this sounds a lot lighter. You can have this playing for all the beat without it being too much. Now we can add some other effects on this, like the tape mellowify. It's going to make it sound older. Oh, that's good. Okay, that's really good, but I want to show you a trick. So let's try to pitch it up and render it. Now if we pitch it back down 1 octave, it's going to sound different from before. And let's keep both variations so that we can use them in the arrangement. Now that's good, and we could just add some fire drums under this, but in push-ups they use something like a string playing only 1 note. And holding 1 note is a known strategy to create tension in music. And in our beats it always works. Again, this sound doesn't have to be realistic, but I'm going to use the symphony orchestra. We can use the first note, so E. And maybe change octave on the second part. Yeah, that's so simple, but it's already fire. Now let's open an EQ on the melodies. As you can see, we are using a lot of these mid-high frequencies. We will have the 808 in the low end, but we can still feel these frequencies a bit more. And let's use some bass notes like in Family Matters.
Bonus, it ain't me. You better have some paperwork or that shit fake tea.
And these bass notes are not only feeling the frequencies, but are making the beat sound harder. And I really like this preset from Expand, and we can still follow the root note. It needs to be a bit in the background. But in reality, these beats are really simple and repetitive, because again, it's gonna be the rapper changing flows and making it more interesting. So let's arrange this real quick. You could start simple like that, then have everything else, and for the verse use the variation. And now it's finally time for the drums. As a clap they use a hard snare and create a lot of bounce with it.
Fucking creeping up, money wise I'm out of here, you not fucking sneaking.
That's the normal pattern. They play with the bounce, so we can use these few notes. Now of course that's too much. As a hi-hat, they use sharp sounds. One way to make them sound better is to fill each 4 steps instead, duplicate them, and lower the velocity. You can also randomize them. Another instrument they use a lot is the open hat to create even more bounce.
I be rocking every fucking chain I own next visit, ayy. I be with
They use 2 different hats for that purpose. So let's have a longer one playing at the start, every 2 bars. And use another one. Ooh, yeah. And it's finally time for the low end.
with your self-esteem. Also Bobby shit, I wanna know what.
Here they use the kick and the NATO 8 with a pretty full pattern. And they don't create a lot of variation at the end. And now we can add also a kick. We can just copy the 808 pattern and bring it to C. And they sound pretty good right away, but sometimes they don't. So we can use tricks like reversing the polarity, make the kick shorter. Or a fast and easy way is to add some attack to the 808. Let's add pauses at the end. That's hard. Yeah, our first beat is fire, and now it's time to make a second one that is more unique. And to create those fire melodies, they usually play with synths. Yeah, that song is fire. So to create melodies like this, we need to find a sound that is interesting and has a unique character, you know. There are some in analog lab, but I'm going to use riffle. You see, with the multi-key system, every time you press a note, it plays a different sound, so all your melodies are going to feel more alive. And by the way, if you want to check out Riffle, the link is in the description, and use the code DRAKE for a 20% off, and let's get back into it. Yeah, something like that. And I think in Ones and Knees, they use the melody like this. But we can do something different, so for now let's create an ARP, pitch it up. And here I'm not thinking like I'm making a melody, but more creating something that is gonna sound good when we're going to flip it in the playlist. So I'm gonna create 2 variations, so one with the 5th note and one with the 4th. We could also use something like this and it will work. I'm going to use this key. And let's render it. Now we can just stretch this. And to give to it a more sampled kind of vibe, let's add some fade out. Let's add some delay on it. Now I think we could try to create a second variation, so maybe this one that has more space and is less intense is better for this type of beats. And we could keep it simple like they did in Ones and Knees, but in some songs they add a pitched up texture.
Standing on business. Standing on. I'm trying to fuck all the bitches.
And to obtain an effect like this is really easy. We need to add a granulizer plugin. We have Portal, Crystallizer, or Fin Micro that is free. We get a similar result. Okay, we can render it. Let's try to reverse it. But I want to keep only the higher frequencies that we have, because otherwise it's going to clash with the main melody. Yeah, only the higher part. Okay, that's fire. But one thing that surprised me in Drake's production is that sometimes they use vocal harmonies in hard beats. That's something pretty unique.
I'm trying to fuck all the bitches that look like my ex. I'm making them vex. I'm too confident.
And it sounds fire, so let's try to do something like that. I'm going to use the epic choir, but again, it doesn't really matter if it's realistic. And creating harmonies is pretty easy. We can use a second here, so we can skip one note of the scale and place, like we would creating a chord. Man, that's fire. But of course, they need to stay in the background. I'm going to filter them too a little bit. But it's still sounding a bit empty, and while that could be good because again we need space for the artist, in Fear of Fates we have a lower pitch melody that helps to fill the space.
Girl, you make me wanna cuff you like the law. Girl.
To fill the space in our beat, I'm going to use a pad. I'm gonna open again Riffle and go for a pad this time. Honestly, they all work. And we can just create a melody using the same notes we already used. Just copy this. And lower it a lot in volume. So now it's there, but it's not gonna be heard. And lastly, I'm gonna add a piano bass note. Still subtle. And now it's finally time for the drums. And I wanna say, the drums in Bones and Knees are crazy, they are perfect. The sounds are so well chosen, and as a clap they use the rim.
Deposit the money to Brenda Leticia, or Linda Felicia.
So let's try to use 1-2. Ooh. Yeah, it works. As the hi-hats, again sharp ones, but make it shorter. And again use the same trick we used before. And also these beats, they like to play with the head.
Go pound for pound, I'm a year. Chrome hard color, I had it imported. Got it my
Yeah, the open head creates a lot of bounce. Okay. Let's do the same strategy as before, so find a place pretty repetitive with the first open head, and let's add the second one to create bounce. Yeah. And now it's time for the 808. In these beats, they go a bit crazier with the patterns.
standing on business. Standing on, I'm trying to fuck up.
And right now, let's just create the pattern. And we can use 1/3 step to create rolls. That's fire, but they use a specific strategy to make their 808 so much more bouncy. So we can go here, activate the envelope and have all the hold up, like that. And we can play with the length. It has so much more bounce. And lastly, let's add the rack kick. Damn, that's hard. But here, again, we can add a lot more bounce by adding some hits, like when we stop the 808. Whew. And you see, we have a lot of space for an artist on this beat. That's so hard.
Deposit the money to Brenda Leticia or Linda Felicia. She came for me twice, I didn't even know for her once. You know I'm a pleaser. 42 millimeter was made in Geneva. Yeah, I probably should go to Yeshiva. We went to Ibiza.
On the phone, but I love me a threesome. DM a delete, she my little secret. You tryna dish me to blow up, I peep it. I can't respond, we just go at your people. If I left some rats on the bed, you can keep it. This shit getting deeper and deeper. I dig it, my chef won't be, and I was broke, had to fix it. A shark in the water, you swim.